What's the vibe, y'all? Welcome to another episode of Running Off the Screen. I'm the man they call Mac. We understand that there is an ebb and flow to a Raptors season, so it's best not to get too high or too low until we get a larger sample size of success from this roster. Vision 6-9 in theory sounds innovative, groundbreaking, exciting, but this theory presented as a product on the court for the Toronto Raptors has clearly had its holes. There are certain layers missing in the framework, preventing it from being a sturdy foundation to build on and trust for the duration of an NBA season. The philosophy behind this experiment is to execute a seamless flow on both ends of the court, giving the illusion to your opponents that they are going up against 4 to 5 clones of one another throughout the game. But what's been often happening for the Raptors is that the height and the size does not factor into the intangibles and the habits each player possesses. So what's the point of emphasizing size with no toughness on the defensive boards? What's the point of acquiring versatile players if they all have the same, if not similar, weaknesses on the court? Masai mentioned in an interview with Sportsnet's Donovan Bennett that the inspiration behind the roster construction came from a Team USA camp where Coach K had the likes of Rudy Gay, Kevin Durant, and Iguodala, among others, on the court, and he told them, and I'm guessing this is during a defensive drill, to hold their hands out, and then he asked them who can come through this. So back then, you're looking at offensive threats in KD, Rudy Gay, Iguodala, and Paul George, who I believe was injured at the time, who have the tools or have shown the ability to become elite defenders. So obviously, it's much easier to recruit those type of players on an Olympic or World Cups platform as opposed to a cap-based professional league. So we've made the commitment to bank on the potential and develop this style of play in-house. With that said, the Raptors, I'll give them some credit. They have been somewhat self-aware in the past. You know, last season, we showed our youth and we had a lack of poise many times. So they went ahead and they added Thad Young. Now this offseason, our bench really needed infusion of high IQ, high character players, 3-point shooting, and some rebounding. So we went ahead and we signed Otto Porter and Juancho. Unfortunately, Otto has been hurt, but you can definitely respect the thought process. The Raptors are at a point in this retooling process where we need to pivot away from some of the transition-based pieces we have and clean up our half-court offense, whether in the post area or in the mid-range area. Also, our abundance of defense on the wings should now be balanced out at the guard and center positions. When we were matched up against like-minded opponents as far as height at each position goes, we were handed the reality of that situation. Last season, I believe the Raptors were 30th in the league in rebound or defensive rebounds per game. This season, I believe we're 30th again. Last season, we were 28th in assists per game, and I think this season we're near the bottom again. I think we're around 26th. So defensive rebounding, often a stat dominated by tough-minded, teams with size. We have struggled. And assists, for a team that takes pride in everyone being able to do everything, playmaking should be a given. But again, we have struggled. Depth in the NBA shouldn't be stacking 6 to 7 of the same type of players. To me, true depth, or more importantly, versatility, is when you have a wide assortment of play styles to adapt to the adjustments of your opponents and adjust to the play style that the league is moving toward. When we hear Masai speak about winning in the NBA. I don't believe he means one blockbuster deal to make the finals run, as we did with the Kawhi deal. I think it's more rooted than that. They are looking to establish greatness. And greatness as a franchise is in your ability to build a dynasty. Not win one championship and just snap back into a retool. If you look back at the dynasties of the past, the Spurs, Lakers, you could say the LeBron dynasty, and the Warriors, dynasties require sacrifice, whether financially and or in the roles on the court. So putting the roster construction aside for a moment, in the Raptors case, it appears to me at this moment that the sacrifice must come from Nick Nurse to shift his ideology a bit and adjust at the level he's shown in the past, mainly in his first 2 seasons as our head coach, during which he had made a name for himself by sifting through his entire bench, not being afraid to use the end of bench guys in situational moments of the game, adjusting play by play and calling meticulous sets, especially on the defensive end. Now this season there has been many head-scratching moments for Coach Nurse. For one, I can't help but think the tight rotation is a reason why the Raptors have been so disconnected when injuries occur. The time it takes to build on-court chemistry should have been a focus early on by extending the bench. Having Delano and Malachi and maybe Doughton man the backup guard spots and find a rhythm with the staggered lineups. These last couple of years, it just feels like we've gotten too comfortable sticking to a tight rotation, a playoff-like rotation during early season, regular season games, and it's really caught up to us. Now, of course, the argument to that is he doesn't have the center depth we've had in the franchise's high points. Essentially going from Marc Gasol and Serge Ibaka to Christian Coloco, and I guess you could say Thad Young within 3 seasons could be good reasoning for his hesitation to play a fully traditional point guard rotation because of the absence of center depth to complement it. Now, if the Raptors aren't willing to save the roster changes until the offseason and wish to acquire maybe one of their 3 major needs, you could argue that one of those needs is point of attack defenders, 3-point shooting, of course, rim protection, and rebounding. Here are some options I feel could help and maybe at a decent price considering their situation on their current teams. Now, as far as point of attack defenders go, a trade target I think that could help us in situational moments, of course, is Frank Ntilikina from the Dallas Mavericks. He has good size at the guard position, 7'1" wingspan. He is someone who has shown many flashes of great defense, especially but not limited to that point of attack. And also he's done well in switch and denial scenarios. His offense, though, is a complete negative, but he is still only 24 years old, and I picture his defensive abilities helping someone like Scotty guard up a position in spurts. Keeping Barnes off the opposing point guard should be an emphasis for the rest of the way this season, I believe. Now, as far as the 3-point shooting goes, Doug McDermott on the San Antonio Spurs would fit the mold, would immediately become our best 3-point shooter. I can imagine that sooner or later the San Antonio Spurs will be looking to acquire more draft capital and added flexibility for the next phase of the rebuild. McDermott being 31 years old with 2 years left on his deal at around $13.8 million per would be a great trade candidate. He's in the 98th percentile for corner 3-point shooting. I think he's around 58%-ish. But he doesn't really take many from the corner. But he's also in the 93rd percentile in his position for overall 3-point percentage. Signing someone like Otto Porter Jr. and Juancho Hernan-Gomez made sense as far as infusing perimeter shooting threats with great offensive instincts, but it is evident that we need another layer or two of shooters in our rotation, and McDermott has proven to be among the elite. Now, as far as rim protection goes, Mo Bamba from the Orlando Magic, we already know about the massive wingspan and improved shooting ability. He can possibly give you similar production as a Miles Turner would in our system. You can almost look at him as a diet Miles Turner. Orlando has solid depth in their front court when they're at full strength, and there will be an odd man out. And when you scroll through their depth chart, Bamba seems like the most expendable piece that can get you a decent return in assets considering the emergence of Bol Bol. In his previous 4 seasons, Mo Bamba was in the 90th percentile and up when it comes to block percentage, and he has improved on his scoring through contact. Having 2 seasons left on his deal can hopefully give us some time to develop Koloko and potentially have them as our rotational tandem at the center spot for years to come. Okay, so that should be it for this episode. Please don't hesitate to comment your takes below. And like always, please remember to like, subscribe, and raise the vibe. Peace.